Huh?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the beginning of our 2023 Kalachakra Empowerment Program at the Boulder Shambhala Center. We're really excited to be back here for the first time since 2019 and finally doing a Kalachakra in this really incredibly blessed and special space. It's very exciting having the connection to Trungpa in the Shambhala lineage, and it's an honor to be in this space today. Today, we're really fortunate to have Judith Simmer-Brown and Khentrul Rinpoche to have a conversation about Shambhala and Kalachakra. It's answering one of the most emailed in questions that we have gotten at Dzogchen over the years, which is how does the Trungpa Shambhala lineage connect with the Kalachakra teachings, and what commonalities or differences are there between them? So hopefully we'll all learn along today with Rinpoche and Judith as they have a informal chat. So for those who are new to us, Judith Simmer-Brown has a Ph.D. and is a distinguished professor of contemplative and religious studies, Emeritx at Naropa University in Boulder, Colorado, where she has taught since 1978. As a Buddhist practitioner since the early 1970s, she became a student of Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche in 1974 and served as an acharya in Shambhala from 2000 to 2022. Her books are Dakini's Warm Breath and Meditation in the Classroom, Contemplative Pedagogy for Religious Studies. She and her husband, Richard, have 2 adult children and 4 grandchildren. We're really honored to have you here.
Thank you so much.
And we also have Khentrul Rinpoche. He is a Janong Kalachakra master as well as a Rime master, having studied in over 25 different monasteries in all of the Tibetan Buddhist traditions. He finally happened upon Janong after a very long time and found that the teachings of Shambhala and the Janong Kalachakra affected him the most profoundly, and he has dedicated his life to sharing them with us around the world. He has written over 30 books, and they are translated in many languages on Shambhala and Kalachakra, including the realm of Shambhala. Shambhala publication says local Boulder. And we're very thankful that we have Rinpoche here to have this talk with Judith today. So thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. Oh, this is wonderful. You know, I always want Trungpa's teachings, learn, and then finally I connected with Judith. So it's fantastic today. You have to lead you have to lead today. Yep.
And I'm so honored, Rinpoche, that you're here and that we're having a chance to talk about this very profound subject in this particular very blessed space, so precious for us in the Shambhala community, and wonderful that we will be able to share the Kalachakra with you. We thank you so much for conferring it.
I feel very, very grateful and feel very special in this room, you know, and 2018 I come here, one talk, but it's very rush. So that time, yeah, it's very nice, but this time even more, I can feel it's a very special room, you know. So yeah, it's very exciting. So how we start?
Well, I think Rinpoche and I came up with some questions we want to have a conversation about. And I'm going to be turning toward you because I'm hoping we can talk to each other.
Yeah.
Yes. So the first question is really, what is Shambhala and how does it relate to the Kalachakra? Maybe you could start.
Yeah. So the Shambhala is we can say many ways, you know, the depend how you understand and how you express. But the traditional standing name Pure Land, Pure Land. But the Pure Land, general Pure Land and the Shambhala is not same. So there's many, how do you say, many secret or many structures, like the Shambhala different, and then what is the Shambhala and what is it?
And how does it relate to the Kalachakra?
Oh, how to relate to the Kalachakra is that's significantly most important because Kalachakra taught because for Shambhala, okay? Because Shambhala, the first Dharma king Suchandra request Buddha taught Kalachakra, and then the Kalachakra transform Shambhala. So, in my understanding, the Shambhala is not always same. This before Kalachakra and after Kalachakra are not same. Incredible transformation. And then how we got Kalachakra in this earth also come from Shambhala. So that means the Shambhala, the Dharma kings and the Rigdans, all of them is actually our lineage. We have the teaching come from Shambhala, the Kalachakra, unbroken lineage directly from Shambhala. So, yeah, that's the short answer.
Yes, okay. And I would say that Kalachakra-tantra is the most sophisticated, subtle, and detailed tantra of all the tantras of India, taught by the Buddha a year before his passing to Suchandra Dawasangpo, who is the king of Shambhala.
Yes.
And you could say that with all of the many teachings in the Kalachakra, the innermost secret teachings of the Kalachakra are the teachings of Shambhala. And those teachings have been so treasured because they talk about the human potential of complete basic goodness,
yes,
of Buddha nature, you could say as well, of complete wakefulness is at the heart of every human life. And that is something that people can uncover and realize in their experience. But more than that, King Suchandra, as he understood it in his kingdom, it was possible for the people in his kingdom not to practice just as solitary practitioners, but to practice in society. And so it's a recognition of the basic goodness of society as well, that we could have an enlightened society. We could have groups of people living together around the principles of basic goodness. And these were brand new teachings, completely unique teachings in the Kalachakra that are esoteric. They were not so obvious, but Suchandra understood those teachings and took those back to his people. And one thing I wanted to say is that I've read Rinpoche's book, Demystifying Shambhala, and it's an excellent book, excellent. And I really want to recommend it. It presents Shambhala in quite a different way than Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche did, the Dorje Dradel, but it fills out with history and context many things about the Shambhala teachings. And so I'm hoping that you will go home and get this book and read it, because I found it very enriching. And it's one of the reasons that I volunteered to do this fireside. We don't have a fire here except you. Fireside chat is because this book is quite lovely.
Yeah, you put very beautifully, you connect very nicely, like the what Trungpa taught and the traditionally taught, If not brilliant mind, then you can see something very different. But I think in your brilliant mind, you understood the very, weaving together. As she said, Kalachakra-tantra is the most profound and the most extensive the spiritual system in this world. You could easily to say nobody can argue, oh, we have much more profound than Kalachakra, or we have much more detail than Kalachakra. Can't say that, so especially go more higher and higher, Kalachakra more elaborated.
Yes.
Any other tantra. So that's but then the little problem, people always give up because it's so big, so detailed, and it's too much. People think that way. So Trungpa, I think he is so skillfully, he don't talk about these too much details, and then he take the essence, like the essence, what he have to do. That's how I feel,
Yes, I think so. Because there are many books on the Kalachakra, and many scholars have devoted their scholarly life to the Kalachakra. And I've read many of those books, and they seem to miss the point.
Yes, yes.
And so this beauty of the hidden essence of the Kalachakra being the Shambhala teachings.
Yes, yes. That's why I try to, what I introduce to the Kalachakra in the world, I'm trying to do the essence try. Maybe I'm not good as Trungpa, really particular, incredible, many skillfuls, but I'm trying to introduce the essence, because everybody introduces the details, and all the traditional ones, they're lost in the details. So which means that they focus on the secondary factors, not the primary important. They forget, so that's what I'm trying to do, Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you that in all, I've read your life story, and you studied many different schools, many different monasteries, many different teachings, but in all of your study and practice and such extensive training you had, you decided to focus on Jonang and on Kalachakra. Can you say why? And then we'll talk about Jonang.
Yeah.
Why did you pick this as something to devote your life to?
Yeah, it's first I didn't go Jonang because Jonang is not the biggest, not the largest, So that's why I think the human beings always somewhere attracted big or large or something. I didn't do that particularly, but somehow. When we had opportunity, first, when I'm very young, we are not allowed any religion. But once allowed, at that time, where I am is a Nyoma tradition. So I ordained there, and then they around many Nyoma and these things. I went there like that. And then I also Kagyu and Lamas many connected. And then the Satya, some connected. So I asked him, give me practices, and that time I can read. I can't even read, but they just gave me some practices, and I just did, 100,000 prostration, everything I do. So I do like this. That time I'm not a monk, okay?
Yes.
I'm not a monk, I'm illiterate. But doing these things. And then after monk also then, I went to many monasteries. Sometimes the monastery have not for the time, all the time teaching. So if it's winter, I'm in Nyoma monastery, but the summer I go to the Gelu. And then they're very different, and they misunderstand a lot each other. But I experience both, and then it's, I'm always, if I am Nyoma, then I'm representative of Gelu. And if I'm Gelu, then I'm representative of Nyoma, like this. Become like this naturally because I'm going everywhere.
Yes.
So traditionally, everybody stick one monastery whole life, but I just jump in everywhere, But it's very good to me jumping because then you don't develop any bias, So like that way. And then after like 10 years, and I did this, and then after that, okay, no, I never went to Jonang. I went to go Jonang, see how's go, you know. So then I went to Jonang, and then I got opportunity to the practice Kalachakra retreat. So then this my Lama Losantani is in the Tanka. So he is believed in a real Ajapani. So if it's a real Ajapani, of course the Suchantra, same in me. So, but really, really, you know, I completely feel connected with him. So then I becomes my main practice. I have the many lineages and I did many practices, but the becomes main lineage is the, you know, I become the Kalachakra. That's why.
So people may not know that the Jonang lineage, which is not well known in the West, there are the major lineages of Kagyu, Nyingma, etc. Jonang has been considered a long time a sub-school, and it's been known especially for the teachings of Buddha nature. And the great Dolpopa, who was the major Jonang leader, established and spread the teachings of Jonang, this was a school that has been much more yogic than many other schools, still very scholastic tradition. So Jonang is a school that's always been small, but very strongly associated with the teachings of Buddha nature. And you can understand the attraction to Kalachakra and the teachings of basic goodness, which are just another way of talking about Buddha nature.
Yes,
So,
yes. The basic goodness, if I know I understood in Tibetan, you know, so Domi Zambo. So Domi Gombo Chukakanda Zambo, if longer, if
yes,
you say,
as well.
if you say very longer, then like this. So Trungpa is so skillful, he make more understandable, you know, like otherwise Pramadi or something, blah, 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 you know. It's very difficult, but he made very easy. So yes, this, if you want these details, who explains exceptional way the basic goodness is Jonang, you know. So Torpopa is he come in 14th century. But the Jonang name is started in 13th century, you know. So Gelug 14th century, Kagyu and Sakya 11th century. So Nyingma 8th century. So like this. So, but Torpopa become very annoying because Jonang was always hidden because they always yogic practices, focus, practice, don't too much intellect. Yeah. But then the Torpopa, he is not first to even Jonang. He's in Sakya and he went everywhere, scholar, studying everything. So he become incredibly annoying and everybody call him omniscient, Kenkin Torpopa, which means omniscient. Everybody call it's not followers call, it's other people call, you know. So after that, he went to Jonang and he went impressed. Why impressed? He said, oh, Jonang, everybody realized Buddha nature. Oh my God, we are just lost in intellect. So then he become Jonang. Then why he's so popular? Because in realization wise, it's not Torpopa only, but Torpopa is not only. Everybody realize it masters, but he become like this because he's so scholar, and then he wrote the Jonang how exception. His view is also the Genton is how exception, and then nobody can debate. So that's why he become incredible well known. Even the emperor, Chinese emperor, want him, you know, like that.
And he was known partially because he had such realization and such personal power because of that as well, as I understand.
Yes. He has both, you know, incredible intellect and but it's a realization first lead by intellect, but later on he built this huge stupa for his lama, and then he said, when I built this mountain-like stupa, I had, you know, the realizations, the teachings like ocean like come, so like that. So yeah. So I think even a very independent scholar, unbiased scholars, I heard, in internet, they say, Western scholars, they say, oh, Trungpa is the exception. You can't compare anybody. They talk like that.
So the teachings of Trungpa Rinpoche, the Dorje Drattle, are a little different from Kalachakra, and I thought I should say something about that. Rinpoche, he combined the teachings from the Kalachakra, the core teachings that Suchandra Dawasangpo received, but he also mixed in, you could say that his Shambhala teachings are a combination of the Kalachakra tradition, the Gesar tradition, and Dzogchen particularly, with mixtures of other things as well. And a number of other teachers in Kham had a way of mixing together Kalachakra, Gesar, and Dzogchen together with a bit of Confucian influence, particularly around the principles of leadership in government, and some elements also of the Puranas in Hinduism as well. So it's a kind of mixture, but it's because that was Eastern Tibet was soaked in the culture of these various streams. And the Dorje Drattle received Shambhala teachings from his root guru, Sechen Khentrul, but he also was very well known as a terton, a treasure discoverer, and he received many different terma on Shambhala that mix these various themes together. So if you are looking at the Shambhala teachings only through the lens of Kalachakra, you find things in Rinpoche's terma that might be a little different. But these qualities of mixing together the more shamanic elements of the Gesar tradition of Tibet, mixed with Kalachakra and mixed with very profound Dzogchen teachings, and how they all came together in a very organic way for Rinpoche. So Rinpoche received his first Shambhala terma. So he had a long transmission from his root guru, Sechen Khentrul, but he had the short transmission of terma, a visionary series of transmissions. And the first one he received during his escape from Tibet in 1959. And he went on a month-long retreat. And during that retreat, had incredible transmission of Shambhala texts, 2 huge volumes around 600 pages. And he carried that with him as he escaped from Tibet. Unfortunately, he lost that text. There are various versions about what happened to the text. The most well-known one is that it went overboard as he crossed the Sangpo River. This is what Akhang Rinpoche said. But there are other stories that he left the text in the 600 pages in Pemako when he was there. There are various versions. But this was, in 1959, Rinpoche said that when the Chinese came into Tibet, what arose in his mind was the importance of the Shambhala teachings. And then after the terma were lost, it wasn't until 1975 when he began to receive some kind of messages about the Shambhala teachings. And it was in 1976 and onward until around 1980 that he received the Shambhala terma. So the Shambhala terma came as a series of transmissions for Rinpoche. And so one of the things that people often wonder about when Khentrul Rinpoche is teaching about Shambhala from the Kalachakra, is this the same as Trungpa Rinpoche's transmission? Same in many ways, different in many, many ways. And Trungpa Rinpoche's teachings were presented very differently than Rinpoche's teachings are, but many of the same source views and wisdom come through both.
Yes, you're right. You put together very nicely. So I always feel, like this, the Trungpa's teachings must be there is link, always think like that, but I couldn't find any text, and
He's been searching the internet for Rinpoche's Shambhala teachings. And
yeah,
as we know, terma don't usually appear on the internet.
yes.
So far.
So far, yeah, so far.
Yeah, but it's termas, many termas you can find in online nowadays, But this is a little bit exception.
Yes, that's right. That's right. So, of course, Trungpa Rinpoche wrote the book Shambhala, The Sacred Path of the Warrior, that became very popular after his passing. It's become such a popular book and reprinted many times. And the second book is called Great Eastern Sun, which is additional teachings from Trungpa Rinpoche, the Dorje Drattel on Shambhala. So those two books are publicly available, and they aren't drawn directly from the terma. They're more like introduction of the basic themes of the terma to the public. The more private teachings are ones that are reserved for advanced students, particularly Vajrayana students. And there are also a number of commentaries and practices, and quite a rich tradition has grown from these original terma of the Dorje Drattel.
Yes, I hope one day I know everything, and then we link it together and very nicely, elegantly, as Judah said today. So that's maybe we can do.
So I know that you have a special interest in the Shambhala teachings from the Kalachakra and what they have to say about enlightened society and the new golden age. And I wanted to ask you if you could share what your understanding is of what enlightened society is according to the Kalachakra.
Yeah, so the golden age is a more simple way, and this golden age is this language already exists in English. That's why we use it. But it is in Tibetan called Zordan ki Karwa Zordan, or Zordan ki Karwa, or Karpa or Karwa means that. Zordan means like a completion, completion golden age, like a completion golden time, golden period, golden age, whatever you translate. So that, and so that means that means we're talking about this earth. We're not talking about Shambhala. Sometimes people mix together, So how this humanity happened, So they're talking about that. So that's for me, when Trungpa say enlightened society. I hope that he means this golden age in this earth and then Shambhala both. I think that's his meaning. That's my interpretation. So what do you think?
Well, let me clarify. What you're saying is that the golden age is not some future time, not some other place, but right here now.
Tradition. If you ask a traditional people,
Yes,
not now. Okay.
yeah.
It's not now. Is coming in after maybe 400 years. Okay, 400 years later, they have some calculations.
With the 25th Rigden.
Yes, with the 25th Rigden, and right now, I think like 20 or 21, depending, there's many other experiments. So then 25th come, and then we have the golden age, So means that traditionally, I just tell you, if it's very traditional, that is the correct information, okay? But I'm not satisfied with this, To me, this interpretation of the text is too much literal. So my understanding is the golden age, like some people say, oh, golden age just now, like this. But when we say just now, I think we have to be a little bit individuals, pure karma or pure perception. But is I'm kind of the mediator. I say, in my point of view, is the golden age is up to us. How long take? Is we have to wait 400 years, or we only wait, few decades? Is that, or we don't want to wait, or that is up to us, which means we all together, because it depends what is our view and our attitude and our motivation.
So when you say it's up to us, does this mean we have to do a lot of things in the world, become social activists and stop climate change and
No.
reverse? What does it mean? It's up to us.
We have to, how to say? We develop our motivate, the view and the attitude and the motivation. This is up to us. Is nobody can't change your view, and nobody can force to change your view, and nobody can force your attitude. Nobody can force your motivation. So it's up to us. So only we need this change. We need not go external activities. Is any external activities to make these things happen? Then yes, So that's my meaning. So please,
Yes, so I think that Trungpa Rinpoche, the Dorje Drattel, would say something very similar, that there is such goodness in how people are with each other in everyday life, with families, particularly how people want happiness for their children, that they care about human connection, that there's a lot of other things that people become distracted by and depressed by. But if they really work on their human connection and love of beauty and appreciation of culture, the golden age is already here in some way. We can always increase our awareness of that. We can put focus on culture. Rinpoche put a lot of emphasis on culture and the importance of the human community creating some kind of connection with each other and care for each other in cultural settings. And so put a lot of emphasis on what it is to be together in ways that are kind and inclusive and uplifted, with a love of beauty. So then we find the golden age right here. So would you say the golden age is something like Daknang, sacred outlook, or pure perception?
No, because when we say Daknang, we're talking about individual person, individual person. Okay, today we are in this room. Okay, everybody, see just Judah, okay, just Judah. But one person didn't see Judah, is something Tara or something, that is we call pure perception, But it's when I'm talking about this is not pure perception. It is still can be still karma, but a positive karma, because I think the why I'm not satisfied the traditional explanation is because it seems everything too literal. If you take it too literal, then you have many contradictions. Many contradictions. That's one thing. The second thing is also like Buddha or always Buddha or anybody enlightened based teach always depend on audience at that time.
Yes.
Okay. So this things if you take it forever, then is not suitable in Dharma itself. Okay, that's I think. So the other problem is I think the most important we have to remember what is the core Buddhism. The core Buddhism is everything our experience is our karma. Our karmic version, right? And our karma is who created our mind. So that's why we can change any time, but it's not like personal change right now quickly. It's not like this because this is sharing karma. The whole earth and everything we share in karma. So we need work together. It's everybody. It doesn't mean everybody, whole 100% humanity have to be agree together. It doesn't mean that, but we need a little movement of the mind set, So then this happens is not few people's experience. The whole world is experience. Then this earth and everything changes, rejuvenate everything. The people's age and the earth is we have like a disease and we have like climate problem. All of them rejuvenate. So I think in that way.
So the Kalachakra teachings have as the foundation the notion of the Dark Age. And as I understand it, the teachings that the Buddha gave to Suchandra were about how to overcome the forces of the Dark Age. And in Trungpa Rinpoche's teachings, he talked about this as setting sun, as opposed to Great Eastern Sun. Great Eastern Sun is much more uplifted and much more, the Shambhala teachings are symbolized by the Great Eastern Sun. But the setting sun is the degenerate age, the Dark Age. So the question I would have is how you understand the forces of the Dark Age now in our world, and how receiving a Kalachakra Abhisheka is helpful for reversing the Dark Age. Many of you know that the Dalai Lama, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, has done the Kalachakra 32 times.
34 times now.
34 times now? 34 times now. In different places in the world, as a contribution to turning back the forces of the Dark Age. And it's really rather remarkable that very often in those empowerments, there's not a lot of discussion about how the Kalachakra Abhisheka turns back the forces of the Dark Age. I wonder if you could say something about that. How, if we come to receive the Abhisheka from you, how might this help us see the new golden age?
Okay, so the Kalachakra, why is relevant? Because the Kalachakra, the purpose is this. Because in general, we say, or always say, degenerate. But Kalachakra have new solution, new solution. So that's why Kalachakra and the Shambhala, the warriors, they work together. And then this, we have this huge possibility, that's why. So you're talking about the Kalachakra, but now I recently, only just few days ago happened in Tibet, one Lama given Kalachakra empowerment, like they said, like hundreds of thousands of people. They're just tents everywhere. It's just like village, bigger than village, actually, a small town,
like a
this.
City,
like become city, like this. They never happened. Any other empowerment is impossible. Only Kalachakra. So it's like this kind of indication we already have, and then these dark forces and everything, this prophesies everything comes from Kalachakra. Nowhere else, Kalachakra-tantra itself.
yes.
So that's why it's very, very relevant. Maybe we don't have that number of because I'm not in Tibet, so we don't have that many Abhisheka audience, but I think we focus on quality. Because this most people, they don't know even what happening. When you Kalachakra empowerment, the Lamas, and then people, some people not even listening. They just did talking each other, and then gone. They don't know what they done. They just, this is important. That's it. but we not doing this. We have, we have a booklet, and every step you have understand. How can you not understand? If you say, oh, number one now, it's almost like spoon food, like children, teaching like this way we're doing, So that's why I have many impacts. Many impacts. That's why I believe this is, especially we have this fortune here, we can do. So the Trungpas, the incredible blessing, and, these things maybe meant to become together. So that's why we have many other options. We can do other places, but we really wish to do here, so that's why we're doing, so that I believe this is make huge differences. Even recently I saw some documentary, they said this year going to start, okay? This documentary said they got 3 phases of the change. The first one start 2023. Second one, second phase going to change to 2030. Okay, so yeah, this one is they're talking about scientifically. Okay, they're talking about the genes and the cells and everything. How is it possible? Okay, I didn't understand 100%, but they're talking like this. So then we know there's many negative forces you mentioned. So the professor is always say start by negative forces, negative problems, then become wonderful. So that's why I'm very, very positive about it, So then also we have to remember, our mind create everything. If you don't believe Dharma at all, zero, then it's zero. But otherwise, the core Buddha's teaching is our mind, the creator of our world.
Yes.
So
the most foundational Buddhist teaching of all.
All
So you could say that the Kalachakra is bringing about a tipping point. You know this word, tipping point?
Yeah.
Where things are going this way,
yeah,
but they could tip this way. And the Kalachakra could be where the tipping point takes place.
Yes. Kalachakra have this always, like this. It's magical things, that happen, always, oh, that's why happened this, like that must be the tipping point.
The tipping point, yeah. Yes, yes. So one of the aspects that comes from the Kalachakra is the notion that in the Dark Age, the human beings lose their life force, and that sense of sok is gone, and people begin to feel depressed very easily and get sick very easily and think the worst of things very easily. So Trungpa Rinpoche, the Dorje Dradel, taught practices to rouse our energy, our wind horse, to awaken the life force, and to give us a sense of possibility, and that we have some kind of personal power individually and as groups to bring about some kind of transformation. So this has been very much part of the Shambhala teachings and Shambhala practices that we have been doing as a community for a long time. That sense of going right to the sok of us, that we've lost that life force and we can rouse it again, we can reawaken it again. So many of our practices are about lungta, really reviving wind horse.
Yes. So yes, we Tibetans, we have lungta, and we have, this kesar, and we have many things, but in general, they are all separated. They're separated. There's no relevant to each other like this. But the Trungpa, he beautifully put together. That's also is something
very unique.
Very unique. So
yes,
yeah, very unique. But somehow, like in the 3 years ago, the COVID-19 come. That time, something happened to me. Like when I'm stuck somewhere. In the COVID time, and then I take as like opportunity, like retreat, and then something happened to me. So I made the huge, big sort of longta, through the Tara. So somehow that's happened. So that's why, now everywhere we practice in this.
That's why you're traveling everywhere.
So now I'm very glad, this is connected with the Trungpa's idea. This longta is like the part of this, the golden energy process, So this is, just seems like coming along together, so seems wonderful. Yeah, and then, this, he's saying this, the people lost energy, like these things. Yeah, it's a different name, but I often say we need the warrior nature of the compassion.
Yes.
So, our love and compassion, everybody have love and compassion, but is all a little bit, I call it contaminated. We have to purify our love and compassion. So which means I always try to explain the compassion is the masculine form, and the courageous nature is, nothing's make you discouraged,
Yes.
And then love is this, very warmth and the connector, So the feminine aspect, they are union together, then everything is work well. So I try to explain that way, But it sounds like a different way, but the same meaning, isn't it?
Yeah, the same meaning. For Rinpoche, it's like the Kalachakra teachings of Shambhala were like the ground, and then the path was very much the practices of Gesar and warriorship.
Yeah,
is how you actually enact
yes,
the view of
Yes.
Kalachakra.
yes,
And so it carries forward that way. And then they blend so beautifully together.
yes. Even the Gesar, like in the past, some people question me, is there any connection, the Gesar and the Shambhala? I kind of answer, not sure connection, because Gesar is this, Shambhala this, and I try to, Shambhala warriors like this. So I try to probably similar answer, maybe not 100% same, but similar answer of the traditional answer. But, a few years ago, I went to my hometown, and, and everywhere Gesar is everywhere.
Gesar everywhere.
Gesar is everywhere.
Yes.
So even government allow do these things and like this. And so then I thought, maybe the Shambhala and Gesar.
And Lungta at the Lhasa airport, great big horse,
Yes.
at the it's like it's there everywhere.
Yes. But also when I doing this the longta, big longta, at that time I realized also many. I realized that longta also have many process, and like why longta and everything, why korta and everything. Yeah, I realized that time. Yeah, so we maybe don't need to talk about this today, but yeah. So what about the Trungpa's enlightened society? If you can explain a little bit more further.
Well, I think that Rinpoche didn't teach it theoretically as much as he tried to create it with us.
Yeah.
And he was less telling us it's like this, like this, like this, and more saying, do this, do this, do this. So first he had us get nice clothing.
Yeah.
And then he wanted us to learn how to waltz.
Yeah.
Waltz dancing,
Yes.
And then he wanted us to learn how to have a party where everybody was dignified with each other, and not just lying on the floor and smoking pot, but he introduced many things to try to teach us how to be more dignified and gentle and present with each other.
Yes.
And to make sure that we cut our hair.
Yeah.
And cut our beards, and live a more uplifted life.
Yes.
So that's how he taught it.
yes.
And he didn't like say there are these 3 levels, and he didn't teach it in a scholastic way.
Oh, yes.
He instead created a court, and he was very much influenced by the British and he felt the British were much more uplifted than Americans. So he tried to have us learn how to speak
Yeah.
Oxonian English
Yeah.
as opposed to American English. He thought that we could learn to be more genteel
Yeah.
with each other.
Yes.
So that's more how he taught it.
Yes. I think he's skillful. That's without telling many theories, and he just make a society, make a very beautiful and everything. Because this is fit in the Tantrayana, because the Shambhala is the Tantrayana realm,
Yes.
We have to remember that Amitabha, those things, in general, people's knowing the Amitabha and the way, how to practice to reborn Amitabha, all of them is like more Sutta in a way.
Yes.
But the Shambhala is clearly said is Tantrayana realm. Of course, Kalachakra. Everybody in Shambhala, everybody practices Kalachakra. So that means the most high level of Tantra. So Tantra means, like you don't have to abandon, the wealth and anything, you don't have to abandon even your anger, your jealous, your anything. I wrote a book on this coming. So that's why is basically in Sutta is all the beautiful things we have to abandon,
Yes.
we should not have attachment, like everything. But in the Tantrayana, no, is everything useful, everything and incredibly useful and enlightened part, So that's why I think he talking doing these things without telling too much.
Well, we talked about the Buddhist military. He wanted to transform the notion of military to gentleness. So he used many forms in culture, transformed it to have a different meaning.
Yeah, that's also it must be very skillful, because
very skillful.
Usually if we say military or anything, we always think it's aggression, like aggressive and killing, fighting and this. And then he bring that, like the same words and different showing. Completely
different motivation, completely different manifestation.
Yeah. So that means skillful means that, So that's why I think I always say many Tibetans, they don't even know Trungpa, because they don't know English, they don't know any foreign languages, so they don't know. So I taught many. So the most impact Tibetan Lama, most impact in a short time, like incredible, is the Chogyam Trungpa. I told them, they don't know.
So can I ask you a question about the Rigdons?
Yes, please.
Rinpoche spoke about the Rigdons as if he saw them every day, or he had visions of Rigdons all of the time. And so there was a sense of intimacy with the Rigdons. Can you tell us more about who the Rigdons are and their importance in Shambhala, and how the Rigdons are supporting the development of the Golden Age?
So in traditionally, we call 7 Dharma kings and 25 Rigdons. So 7 Dharma kings means before the Kalachakra introduced in Shambhala.
Yes.
At that time from Suchanta, and then we have 7. They are called 7 Dharma kings.
And by the way, Rinpoche's book has a fantastic appendix that has the list from the Sanskrit sources and the Tibetan sources of all the Dharma kings and
the traditional list, and also we have traditional list, and then David Ragul, he found some traditional mistakes, so we made 2 lists, like
it's very, very useful. So want to recommend that. So please, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. So then this Rigdan means it's not kin anymore. it's not kin. Kin means, like you are the above and then above anybody, whatever you say, then you conquer other nations like this. But then Rigdan, how Rigdan becomes is Rigdan means everybody is equal, but he is the symbol of the equal. So he is the leading to this the how to say the everybody togetherness, like he leading that. So that's why I call it Rigdan. Okay, Rigdan. Then we have 25, and then here few pulses like that, and traditionally, but I have few times, like experiences I have. So I found out, 108 female Rigdans. Okay, 108 female Rigdans. So I in Tibet, Thongkha school, Karma Kagyu, Kamagati. I led them this year. I feel something very urgent. And people say, why you want that many Thongkas? Where are you hanging on? Regardless, hanging on, I feel very so urgent. So they're drawing, this time they're drawing the old traditional ones, and then the other ones, and now it's like almost 40. That's we drawing. But in the future we have this. So because after Golden Age, my understanding, after Golden Age, then female Rigdans. Okay.
I've not heard this before.
Oh yeah, nobody heard this before. So this is my understood. This is my big statement, to the world, So yeah, I'm very, very certain about this. So yeah, they have many reasons behind, but this maybe we talk another time.
Okay, that's great. So Rinpoche, shall we open to some questions here?
Sure.
See if people would like, we'll take just a little time. Yes, Dan. Yeah, there's a microphone for you. And speak clearly so that Rinpoche can understand, okay? You may have to turn it on.
Hello.
Yes, good.
Judith, sort of bringing things back down to earth a little bit.
Yes.
In the beginning, you mentioned the blending of various lineages that Trungpa Rinpoche presented to us. And you briefly mentioned shaman. And I'm wondering if you were also referring to Bunpo at that point. And how does, relating to the earth, the sky, the trees, and so on, how does that fit into the whole situation that we're discussing here?
That's a great question. And so I hope everyone heard this, and if people online heard this. So the question is coming back to what I said at the beginning about they weren't schools, but more streams of influence that influenced the culture of Eastern Tibet at the time that the Vajrayana was being trained. And that is particularly the Kalachakra tradition of Shambhala, which many people in Tibet talk about Shambhala all the time because it's sort of in the culture. And then the Gesar traditions, and then Dzogchen, and lots of Dzogchen themes in the Shambhala terma. And those have come through quite a bit. And then the sprinkling of Confucian notions of rulership, and also Hindu notions from the Puranas, a lot of the literary forms and imagery from the Puranas. So Gesar as a tradition is a folk tradition that can't be called Bunpo particularly, more basic than that, and much more related to the natural world and to the grassroots culture of Tibet. So Gesar traditions, I would say, have a lot of shamanic elements, and there's also the Gesar epic as well. Gesar is not a unified tradition or school. It's much more the characteristic of a lot of aspects of folk culture. And I'm influenced a great deal by the scholarship of Robert Kornman, who did a lot of work on this. And he spoke of this as not just Gesar the epic, but Gesar as a folk shamanic culture of Tibet. Bunpo is a specific sort of branch of that folk culture, but I'm talking about something more basic and more folk than Bunpo. Is that helpful? And by the way, Robin Kornman, before his untimely death, did a lot of excellent research on foundations of the Shambhala teachings and published a number of very influential articles on the Gesar tradition and the influence on the Shambhala terma of the Vidyadhara.
Yes, further to my question, what I was really asking
Okay.
was, how does, these teachings relate to the natural world? How do we relate to the natural world within these teachings?
That's very important. And I think that is a unique quality of the Dorje Dradl's Shambhala teachings. A lot of emphasis on the elements and on the power of the elements, a lot of emphasis on Drala and the fact that there's a natural power that takes place all around us that speaks to us. And the Dralas, he saw the Dralas as naturally connected to the Rigdans, and that they are like the messengers of the Rigdans. It's almost as if the Dralas connect us to the Rigdans directly. So this is another way that the Kalachakra teachings about the Rigdans connects with the Gesar tradition on this more elemental level of Drala. Thanks so much for asking that.
Hi, I was very fortunate to recently peruse the realm of Shambhala. And I haven't read Demystifying as yet, but what seems to come back to me is the sense of the other emptiness and that perception and how that's understood. Also, of course, the relationship to the natural world, in that it's very scientific, and the respect for science is there. And that things are always changing and evolving. So you can predict, but you also have to be grounded in what's known. So I just wanted to hear a little bit more about the other emptiness.
So she's asking something related to Zhentong.
Yeah.
And how Zhentong relates to the world of perceptions and relationship with the natural world. This is a great topic for you.
Yes. When we say Zhen means other, Tong means empty. So the other one called Rang Tong. Rang means itself, Tong means empty. So if it's Rang Tong, or if it's not Zhen Tong, then it's Rang Tong. Rang Tong means empty itself. So usually we are Buddhist, we say true truth, right? The conversion, the relative truth and ultimate truth. So if ultimate truth and relative truth both is empty itself, then we have nothing left.
Yes.
And nothing inspire, right? So Zhentong means Buddha nature. Our Buddha nature is only empty of other, but not empty itself. Okay, so that's why it's very inspirational, and it's incredible logical and practical. And that's why the golden age, how related, if we are perfect, our own truth. So we, we have a little problems is just temporary, an illusion. So that's why is so much, encourage it. Okay, anything possible, right? Any transition, it's very easily. That suggests Janton. But Ranton is a little bit, is wobbling.
You could say that here, no one will get upset.
Yes, it's wobbling because is every time I talking to people, at first they wobbling. Any scholars I discuss and they're just wobbling.
Yeah.
At first wobbling, they have to change many things and contradict many things, and then but a simple way. If somebody not incredibly philosophical, but think about there's nothing, then what we do, it's like that. But the Ranton is process understanding. We need Ranton, no problem. Yeah.
So one way to talk about the other emptiness is that it is the gateway to luminosity and the experience of the vividness of the world, which is not inherently existent, but that quality of being saturated with wakefulness. So it's a beautiful, with only Rangtong, there's not as much pointing to yogic practice, but Zhentong is all about pointing to the non-conceptual experience of luminosity, which is what we experience with the sense perception. So the Dorje Dradel put a lot of emphasis in the Shambhala teachings on the ayatanas, on the sense perceptions, and on the beauty and vividness of sense perceptions and luminosity, you could say, and this as an expression of goodness in our world.
Yeah.
So it's yogic.
Yes, yogic practice, because the Jonambas before named Jonamba, they call the 6 yoga lineage.
Yes.
Kalachakra come to Tibet, like 21 versions of translation. They came, but it seems like all of them mostly intellectual. So that's why is only practice really yogic way. Real practice coming seems like a Do lineage. So Do lineage is the journal lineage. So yes, so that's why is John was never interested in politics, never involved in politics. Other than Jonaba, everybody ruled Tibet sometime.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so like that. So is yoga practice really? So many centuries they didn't even care intellect. If you look at the Jona tradition, many years they didn't care. Sometime big things happened, like Torboba, then Taranatha. Torboba's 14 disciples were quite scholar, like these things. Well, it's like that always.
So another question? Yes, Phil.
Thank you.
There's a microphone right there.
Oh, yeah. I've been reading your books, and recently I've been thinking a lot about the Zhentong view and Western science. Is the Zhentong view of the mind qualities that exist in pure emptiness the same as the 5 elements, earth, water, fire, wind, and so forth, as the qualities that remain after an experience of luminosity?
So the Zhentong, like Ranton say, the quality is it's empty, but the quality is luminosity.
Yep.
So that means they already say in Zhentong. Even they say I'm
Yes.
Ranton,
Yes.
but they say already they agree in Zhentong.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
But they don't go further more than that. But the Zhentong go very much everything like 5 element, everything is in the Buddha nature. Everything there, nothing's missing.
Yeah, I guess what I'm wondering is, in the experience of luminosity and the clear sky, the 5 elements are not there And the five senses are not there except in potential. Is that correct?
No, it's our normal lives, senses, normal lives, the five elements, yes, not exist in that state. But we call supreme five elements, supreme five senses, everything there, everything, nothing's missing, nothing.
So in the experience of clear light and the experience of a pure land, is that the same thing?
Yeah, it's if you put like absolute,
Yeah.
the world with absolute, or otherwise you can supreme, and then is everything there, everything same.
Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you.
If we don't use the supreme or absolute, then it's just normal five elements, normal everything, normal.
Thank you.
So maybe one more question. Yes, Vicky.
Oh, it's good to see you. I wanted to just reiterate what you said about not being too literal and how important that is. And thank you, Judith, too. When we talk about Kalachakra, there's always one word that stays with us, and that's the word of time, which our minds can so readily conceptualize and be too literal. Do you have any suggestion about that word and about some of us, like myself, who is running out of time, and how we might relate to time in the sense of Kalachakra if there's a different view of it? Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, as far as I understood, you want to know that Kalachakra wheel of time, what it means, right?
What we mean by time in that, but also for all of us, particularly as we get older and we have only so much time in our lives, how can an understanding of the Kalachakra help us have a different understanding of time? Is that right?
Yes, coming back to not being too literal.
Not being too literal about
Yeah.
time.
We in the West are very literal.
Yes, yes.
And I think this would be helpful to have a little more of your taste of not being too literal.
Yes, yes. So when we say will, if simple way think about, then is will. But there's profound meaning, So because usually everything we have, this beginning end, it's not like well, everything is like rope or stick or beginning end. We everything think like that way, but we not think like well, But the reality, the truth is everything is well, which means there's no beginning, there's no start. That's why there's no such thing. Oh, I'm old and die, no time. Is not exist because you are in the wheel, wheel of time. So wheel of time means always you have time. Okay, always you have time. You are always this, not on and finish the end. It's not that. So when we are old, old is only the gross level, the gross level, and the subtle level, no old, nobody's old, and then die also is obvious level, just dissociation of the temporary, the body and mind, but it's there's no die because impossible. That's why we have to understand the Buddha nature, So that's why. So yeah, if depend how we think, if we understand this way, think this way, then is not. But we have just bad habit to think is like stick and we can end, and there's no more time, I hope this isn't still not too little. Maybe you can help.
No, that's it's interesting to think of rope or stick is the way we think of
Yes.
linear time as opposed to the wheel of time. So
And our bad habits. So thank you.
Yes.
wonderful.
Bad habits always thinking like stick or rope. not thinking like will, you know.
Thank you so much, Rinpoche, for being with us and for this wonderful conversation. And thank you all so much for coming tonight. I hope you'll come back for tomorrow and for the Kalachakra this week. And I know that for myself, I wouldn't miss it. So shall we close with the dedication of merit? By this merit, may all attain omniscience, may defeat the enemy wrongdoing from the stormy waves of birth, old age, the depth from the ocean of samsara. May I free all beings by the confidence of the golden sun of the great east. May the lotus garden of the Rigding's wisdom bloom. May the dark ignorance of sentient beings be dispelled. May all beings enjoy profound, brilliant glory.
No, that's wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rinpoche and Judith. And then for everyone else, I'd just like to let you know a little bit about the program we have
Please.
here this weekend. So tomorrow evening, we have another complimentary talk where Rinpoche will go over what is the Kalachakra path for those who might be interested to follow it. Some people are just curious because they aren't sure what that actually looks like or means in the form of practice. So they want to learn about it. So they can also either understand how it relates to either their current practice. Does it have some relationship or is it a totally different path, or how that works? So Rinpoche will take us through what is the Kalachakra-tantra path. And then on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we have the Kalachakra Empowerment, the initiation. And anyone is welcome to come to that. You don't have to be Buddhist. Rinpoche always explains. Many people would come who have the great merit to like walk past the door and see a picture and are like, oh, today I decided to come in for the first time in 10 years. And then they show up. So anyone is welcome to come. And obviously the best is if you come and take the full empowerment. Even better if you decide you want to do the Kalachakra path, but many people come also for the blessings. And to connect with Shambhala, since this is connected to the realm of Shambhala, and that has great merit too. And then for those who decided they want to be able to get going on the Kalachakra path, on Monday and Tuesday, we're doing a tiny Nodra workshop here, very intimate with lots of questions to get people going with practice. So that will be, and also all of this is online for those online. Today's talk, our translators are asleep, mostly in Europe and Asia. Thank you to the Romanian brave one who woke up at 3:30 a.m. for this. But all of you, I'm sure, will watch it after it's translated and online regularly, and the rest of the program is translated in real time. So thank you, everybody. And thank you so much.
I want to say one thing. I'm going to explain what is Kalachakra means, empowerment, how you receive it. You know, those things I explain always before empowerment. Then also people always worry about, you know, like, oh, what kind of samayas and like these things, you know. So then I have always detail explain this. But briefly, if I say something, you know, I think somehow everywhere becomes like burden, you know, like anything Dharma practice appears like burden, you know, like then go and empowerment also burden, you know, oh, I have to keep this, take these vows, and if I'm not, then I go to hell, you know, like better to not go, you know, like. But empowerment means always is, you know, there's a motivation and courage. So which means that you say, oh, I want to take all vows, all smile. If you think that's 1 minute is like is eons you can't find, you know. It's like that kind of opportunity. So eons we are born in samsara, haven't done this, you know. So that's why 1 minute. So that's why even His Holiness Dalai Lama give empowerment. That time I helped many people. Everybody is so nervous.
oh, how can we receive? Maybe we don't receive, and even receive, how we not taking the vow, broken the vows, how we can keep, maybe can't keep, like this. So what I'm telling them, everybody, how you receive is how you relaxed.
Oh, yeah.
How you relaxed, then you receive. Huh? But if you thinking, oh, then don't also, I heard many lamas say, oh, you don't take any vows, you don't need, you just keep blessing. You just take the blessing. But I disagree about this, there is no blessing if you don't have motivation, you don't have courage, even 1 minute. But if you keep the vows 1 minute, that is 1,000,000,000 times better than you never took. That's one thing. Second thing, Tantra way of vows and smayas is not like Patimokkha and Sutayana. It's anytime you can repair, refresh. So that's why the empowerment is the way of how to reconstruct all your smiles broken in the past. That's sometimes people didn't get it, That's somehow some others presenters also always focus in something secondary focus and not telling the essence and the primary important. So that's why I'm going to talk details, Thursday and Friday. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.